So today we are here with some ladies from Siemens Digital Industry Software, and they're going to be telling us about some personal experiences and their experiences as a woman in engineering. So our first question for our panelists today is, what position do you work at currently at Siemens? And how long have you been there, as well as what your major was in college and where you went? So Suzanne, do you want to start us off?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thank you for the time. My name is Suzanne Kopsha. I'm the Global Vice President of our Consumer Products and Retail Industry Group at Siemens Digital Industry Software. I've been with Siemens for 5 years, but I retired from Procter & Gamble and was an executive there for 25 years before I joined Siemens. So I've been in the industry for 30 years. I went to Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in Troy, New York, but I got an MBA from RPI. Back when I was in college, I had a mentor in college who, in my undergrad, who gave me some really good advice and told me that one of the unique things was that I had deep expertise in math and problem solving and technology, but I had a great mind for business. So it was very unique at the time. But getting an MBA from an engineering school allowed me to really create a path for my career, living on the edge of engineering, but in a business executive role.
All right. Kathleen, do you want to go next?
Sure, yeah. Thanks for having me, Callie. And
Of course.
my name's Kathleen DeValk. So I am the chief architect for Siemens Mindsphere platform, and I also am the head of the global architecture team. So in that role, we're kind of responsible. Mindsphere is a industrial IoT platform. And so my team is responsible for defining the technology direction and doing proof of concepts and basically guiding the overall technical strategy for our product suite. My background is I went to Clarkson University, also in New York, Suzanne. And right?
Yeah,
and
totally.
I,
Go hockey.
yeah, right. We were big hockey rivals. I studied computer engineering. So in high school, I had quite a strong background in computer science and mathematics. So my high school advisors gave me some guidance to really look into engineering. And honestly, when I was young, I really didn't know much what I was getting into or what it would entail or what it would be about. But I really enjoyed it. So my undergraduate degree is in computer engineering with a minor in mathematics. And then I went to graduate school, got my master's in science in computer engineering with a focus in software design, software engineering. So I've been with Siemens now since 2015, early 2015. Before that, I worked for a smaller company. We were doing research and development in big data analytics, and we were acquired by Siemens. So I got a really big opportunity to, come from a small company to join a very, very large company and work with a global organization. That has been a really great experience.
Awesome. Avni, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hey, Callie. Thank you. My name is Avni Kondragunta. I have been with Siemens for the almost coming up to 15 years now. I manage, currently I manage a team in quality engineering team, testing team, and team center core. And in the past, I have worked as a developer in a couple of groups, middle tier and content migration manager in NX as well. And then I also worked in global technical center as a support engineer and now managing people. My background is I got my engineering from India undergrad in electronics and communications. And why I ended up there, because I had interest in math and physics, basically logical kind of thinking and processing, analytical processing. And that kind of seemed like the right path to go, engineering. Why? Because in India there are not that many opportunities or not that many majors that you can explore into. And then here at Wright State, I did my master's in computer science. So that's, and then I worked at a couple other companies before I came into Siemens. But this is where I'm at right now for the past 15 years.
Awesome. And Mary, what about you?
Thanks, Kelly. My name's Mary Oddie, and I'm a director of software engineering in our Siemens SimCenter 3D product. Our SimCenter 3D product is a computer-aided engineering product used for analysis of product designs as built by design engineers. And I've been at Siemens. I tried to look at this earlier today. I've worked there 25 of the last 28 years. I took a little hiatus in the middle there, and I spent 3 years at General Electric. And prior to that, I worked for a research organization developing a new computer-aided design software package at the time, and that's been quite a while ago. And while I've spent my entire career in development of software solutions, and primarily for engineering applications of software solutions. And started out as a developer and moved into management. So I've worked on a variety of different products, but always on the software side of engineering. I went to Ohio State University. My undergraduate was in mechanical engineering. But like I said, I came out of school and I was immediately working in the software industry, was very interested in what I was doing. And I went back and got my master's in computer science also from Ohio State while I was working early on in my career. And I've just always had a real interest in, solving engineering problems using software.
The next one is maybe if you guys could share a little bit like about the day in your life, what a typical day looks like, and maybe one favorite thing about working for Siemens. So I guess go in the same order. Suzanne, do you want to start us off?
Sure. So a day in the life, my job is really interesting because it forces me to be in both a very technical mindset as well as a business development mindset. So in my job, I have 4 major responsibilities, and I wouldn't say I cover all 4 of them every day, but I definitely cover all 4 of them every week. The first is being very externally focused and being very in touch with what's happening in the industry. What are the technical challenges that companies in the industry are facing that they can't solve, and really trying to map that to what our strategy is and how we can help serve them. The second part of my job is working with our sales executives on customer engagements and defining what the solution strategy is of software solutions that we will offer to the consumer products industry and how those customers can apply them to solve their problems and deliver value. And I think of that as my 1 to 2 years. So what are we selling today and probably for the next 12 to 18 months, and how do we serve our customers in the best way? And then traveling all over the world, which is part of one of my favorite things, is I get to experience the technical challenges of consumer products companies all over the world. And it's been a real gift to be able to see all different parts of the world and meet with all different customers. Then the next part is when I work very closely with a lot of the ladies and their organizations that are on this call, is I have to work to defining what are the process-based solutions of the future, and how can our core technologies, whether they CAD or data management or IoT or simulation help deliver solutions for our customers to solve problems that we haven't been able to solve before. So what are we going to sell to those customers in the next, 2 to 3 to 5 years? And then a really interesting one is if we don't have core capability in an area that is really important for us to have to solve our customers' problems, what are the technologies that we might want to go acquire? So there's a part of my job that's all about mergers and acquisitions and identifying capabilities that we want to bring into the Siemens Accelerator portfolio. So I don't do that every day, but that's the scope of what I do on a weekly basis. But one of the other important things that I have always tried to stay true to is every single day, you should make sure you carve out time for yourself, whether that is physical exercise or spiritual enrichment. But make sure no matter how busy you get that you don't forget about yourself. And one of the pieces of advice that someone gave me very early on is remember that every single day, what's on your calendar? Your calendar is your tool to get your work done. So you have to be very choiceful about your calendar because it can get filled up. Like I have a global job, so I can be on the phone from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. if I let people do that to my calendar. But always use your calendar to make sure that you are most effectively using your time to get done what you're responsible for. As you go higher in a company, part of your responsibility is mentoring other people. So that becomes an important part of your job. But always use your calendar to spend your time every day doing what you think is best to deliver what you're responsible for.
Awesome. That's some really great advice. I really like that. All right, Kathleen, do you want to go next?
Sure, be happy to. So mostly every day is a bit different. And it's because the role of the chief architect is multifaceted, similarly. And so one of the things that I have to spend quite a bit of doing is understanding the business strategy and understanding the customer need and translating that into the technical and architectural strategy and then guiding the team in that direction. So it is also kind of bridging the gap between the business perspective and the technical perspective. And so quite a bit of meetings on that, quite a bit of presentations and just alignment calls. And again, we're a global organization, so most of my meetings tend to be shoved together in a group kind of overlapping time zones so that we can get them all done. And then I tend to focus my afternoons when the time zones don't overlap and my evenings when the time zones don't overlap to focusing on research sometimes, proof of concepts. Oftentimes we do vendor analysis or technical evaluations or vendor selection on technologies we might leverage within our platform. Also, my job is to coordinate across the multiple teams that we have working in the organization, all the different, we're Agile Scrum, so all the little Scrum teams are working on different pieces of the product and they all have to be aligned. We need to define, myself and my team, we define best practices and coding guidelines and standards and review processes. A lot of design reviews are involved there. And, every once in a while I get a unique opportunity like this, where today I had a unique day because I attended a virtual conference, which I had done a presentation for. I'm also a Siemens key expert, senior key expert. So I attended a session with other key experts within Siemens where we get together and discuss various ideas and technical strategies that are more across the company as a whole. And then got to participate in this little podcast. So I really enjoy the diversity and the different types of not just software design, but software design, the technical aspects, the interpersonal aspects, coaching and guiding and mentoring my teams as well. And, bridging that gap between the business strategy and the technical strategy. One of the great things that I love about working for Siemens specifically is when I joined Mindsphere in 2017, I got the opportunity to travel the world. We have locations in many, many different countries. And I have to say, I have done more traveling and I have seen more of the world in the last 3 years than I ever had up until that point. So being part of a large organization, being part of a global company like Siemens, it really gives you a lot of opportunities that might, be beyond your job. And you get to travel and see some interesting places in the world.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's definitely cool to hear, for our listeners. A lot of our listeners are high schoolers that, working in engineering can take you really wherever you want to go. So that's really awesome. Avni, do you want to go ahead and go next?
Sure. Thank you. My day typically starts with technical meetings, planning meetings, mostly starting. It's either planning or release, scheduling, what's going on, depending on where we are in the release process. It's either planning or what we have going into the release and stuff like that um, for Team Center release. In general, it's and it also includes helping with the technical and technological tools and decisions that my team needs to make or that needs to use. And sometimes I'll have to also set up the environment to test the product to make sure that we're delivering what we've promised to deliver, um, and the direction of the product that where it's going, just to understand what we are promising to the customers, and how the customers can use our product in getting their tasks done. And coming from technical support from my previous role, I kind of also, and I worked a lot with the customers directly in that role. So I do play devil's advocate with my team in challenging them with their testing strategies. If they have to also go in a different direction than what they've already done, um, giving them the right direction, and also challenging them. Um, that's mainly what I also felt the advantage in working with Siemens, being a large organization. I was able to work in different products, different groups, different roles, start from being a developer, uh, straight up technical, writing code, tons of thousands of lines of code, and then um, also in different products, both Team Center and NX. And also going into the support, I was able to work with the customers directly, understand their use cases, resolve, come up with solutions for them. And now in my current role, I'm able to participate in the planning and the direction of where the product should go. So I feel like that is something that I'm able to do without any issues, especially being Siemens. So Siemens being so huge. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Mary, you want to go next?
Sure. So I'm going to echo a lot of some of the same sentiments that the others here have mentioned. But my job, like the others, is multifaceted. My primary role as a software engineering director is to lead and manage a team of software engineers that are delivering a product. But that team is spread across the globe, like others have mentioned. I have folks reporting to me that are in the US, in Belgium, the United Kingdom, India, Shanghai, or in China. So we have a very wide, geographically dispersed team. So a lot of our technical meetings, I think, like Kathleen mentioned, are early in the morning our time. I typically start my meetings at either 6:30 a.m. or 7 a.m. each day to meet with folks that are in other time zones, trying to get those folks together. But I feel like as my primary role, I have kind of two focuses. One is on the people as a manager, and trying to help them grow their careers, grow their skill sets, etc. Then the other part is actually driving the content of the product. So I get a chance to work with our product managers and our customers to understand, where either our software is falling short, where they need additional functionality, and try to help define that functionality, and then help the teams then come up with solutions to those problems. So I spend a lot of my time on that aspect of my job. I'm also a coordinator for our department for our co-op program. So I get involved with a lot of the college students that are coming in, and that's another aspect of my job that I enjoy. I get to work with a lot of the young people that are looking to become engineers, and bring them into our company and let them know how we do things. So that's always a rewarding part of the job. I also, like Kathleen mentioned, have done a reasonable amount of traveling to meet with my teams over the last few years. We haven't been able to do a lot of that in the last 6 to 9 months due to the current situation, but that's just more opportunity for us to find new ways to do things. As far as what I like about my job is I'm, constantly problem solving, whether it's solving problems with software, solving problems with people, or just coming up with new ways to do things. Over the last 2 years, one of my primary roles within our organization was to drive our organization to an agile process using Scrum. And I spent the last 2.5 years leading that. And so we have a group now of, we started off a pilot of about 4 Scrum teams. So that was maybe 35 people or so. We now have over 50 Scrum teams, and it's about 400 people involved in those Scrum teams. So it was setting up processes and tools to enable that, while at the same time still doing my primary job of driving a particular product. So the opportunities at Siemens have been wide ranged. I think, Avani mentioned that she had also worked on multiple products. Even though I've been 25 years at Siemens, I've worked on 3 very different products. I worked on a computer-aided design product in my earlier part of my career. I then worked on a team center-based product, which was geared toward data and process management for engineering processes. And now I'm back on the computer-aided engineering side of things, where we're developing models to do analysis of parts and products. So within the same company, 3 very different products. Even though I've always stayed on the product development side of things, I still had a wide exposure to customers different parts of the organization as well. And that's what keeps the job exciting, keeps the job interesting.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for that. It's really great to see, how much you can do, how much variety there really is with an engineering degree. In college, you're really kind of limited to just your classwork, but once you really get out into the workforce, you get to see everything you get to do. So that's really, really cool. It gives us a lot of opportunities once we graduate. So our next question is going to be, oh my goodness. What is the biggest challenge that you have faced as a woman in engineering? So, Suzanne, if you want to go ahead and start us off, if you don't mind, I'd appreciate it.
There's been an enormous number of technical challenges, and those are too many to really comment on. I think the one that probably takes the most grace and has been the toughest is there have been many, many times that I will find myself as the only woman in a meeting. And it can be 5 people, it can be 10 people. There was the first major meeting that I went to in Germany for Siemens. It was me and 99 other men.
Oh my goodness.
And I had a leader earlier in my career who gave our entire organization a fantastic piece of advice. And he said, always operate with confidence and humility. And trying to balance respect that you deserve because of your mastery and having grace and humility when you encounter men that think the only reason you got the opportunity is because you're a female. And being able to graciously communicate in an effective way without getting upset that you are there for the same reason that they are, because of your expertise, because of your experience, and because of the value that you can provide to the subject at hand. I would think that's the feeling like you walk into a room and you have to earn people's respect because you're a female in a different way than a man does. It's difficult, but it's often still reality. And I often work, I have a second challenge because for whatever reason, people think that I'm younger than I am. So I walk into a room and there's been many times where people will look at me as a young female in the room with very experienced men, and figuring out how through confidence, humility, respect, and grace, you earn their respect and can work collaboratively with them, and that they respect you as an executive, not thinking of it differently or thinking that you're there because you're being given a chance because you're female. That's probably the hardest one that I've dealt with many times in my career. My guidance is don't get mad. It happens. We wish that it didn't, but it does. But don't get mad. Be confident, be who you are, have the mastery that you are, and prove the reason why you're there. And then you quiet the noise.
Yeah, that's some great advice. That goes not just for working, that goes, for everyday life. Always make sure that you know why you're there and you know why you're doing things, and always remember your why, and that'll really keep you pushing forward.
Yeah.
So, Kathleen, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. To be honest with you, it's the same experience. When I first went to Germany, it was exactly the same. I was the only woman in the room, and that is often the case, whether it's in meetings or discussions or pretty much many, many forums. And it is changing. There's a lot more women getting into the field, but we're still a minority. And so you have to be able to walk in that room and be the only you, and that's okay. And it is important to keep your composure, because people will assume your responses in a different way. They'll interpret your responses in a different way if you're a woman than if you're a man in some cases. And so you have to be cautious. Don't lose your temper. Separate the business from the personal, separate the technical discussion from the personal discussion. If you have disagreements, keep them at the professional level, to keep them at the technical level. And be confident. It is very important to be confident, because people may make assumptions the first time they meet you. They might make certain assumptions about you, about how you got your position, about your level of depth, especially if you're very technical, right? So be confident in yourself, be confident in what you know, and do your homework. Because if you speak with confidence and you know your stuff, you really know it, it will show through, and any misconceptions will dissolve, and you will gain people's respect. So you have to keep it professional, maintain your confidence, and do your homework. And things are changing, and there's a lot of women entering the field, and you see it all the time. And there's many who have come before us, that have kind of paved the way. I was on a plane and watched Hidden Figures, Katherine Johnson, pretty amazing people, and they kind of have paved the way for us to do what we do. So we have to continue to pave the way for the next generation of leaders.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hidden Figures is like my favorite movie. I highly recommend it to anyone who hasn't seen it. Please watch it. It's really good.
That's
So,
awesome.
Avni, do you want to go next?
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, I really like what both Kathleen and Suzanne said. I still think I, I actually feel like I still need to remember or remind myself taking those advices and remembering those things every time I think of, or when I get into such situations. Just keep my cool and continue with what I'm doing, be confident and stuff. So, couple things I just want to mention: the biggest challenges. Um, Being a girl probably started in middle school, high school time, when you suddenly start solving a math problem faster than another guy in the class, and you're like, you're looked at as like, how did you do that? You're not supposed to do that. um, and that basically kind of made me take that as a challenge, and kind of paved my path. In engineering, when you're doing the carpentry classes, when you had to lift a big block, it's like, oh, do you need help with that? And I'm like, no, I'm good. So some of the little things, and of course in engineering, similar situations with classes, with classmates, going into the corporate world. You like Suzanne and Kathleen said, walk into a room and there's pretty much always um, men in the room, and definitely it's changing. Last 15 years, I see that there's a lot more people, a lot more girls, women in this industry coming in, and um, but um, the I can't remember the word right now, but that there's always that gotcha feeling, or that you cannot. You're like, uh, oh, I have to prove myself again. I still have to make sure that, or I need to do my homework so much more than everybody else to prove my point. Um, so, is there another question, or was that the only question, Kelly?
That was the
forget
only
now.
one for that one. That
Okay,
was
all
really
right.
no, you're good. That
So,
was really good. Yeah, definitely.
so
The thing that I've learned, I'm obviously don't have as much experience, is even if you don't have the confidence, just fake it till you make it. Act like you have confidence, and then you'll automatically kind of exude that energy, and people will hopefully kind of gravitate towards that. All right, Mary, do you want to go ahead? You can go ahead whenever you're ready.
Sure. I don't know that I have a whole lot more to add. There's been a lot of good answers there, especially with, making sure you go into a room with confidence. I will say that through my career, I don't know if it is I've been lucky or I'm naive, but I really have never felt like I was being particularly judged harshly as a woman. I feel like, I certainly walk into rooms where I'm the only woman, and I really don't even recognize that fact anymore. Maybe I did early in my career and I just forget, but it's just, it's been, it was like that in college. It was like that probably in high school in a lot of my classes. It's been like that in the work environment. And I try to judge people on what they're bringing to the table, and I kind of have the feeling that I'm being judged the same way. So if you do go in there with confidence, you know what you're talking about, and you can back that up. You don't get a lot of pushback. I would say that you need to sometimes listen more than you talk until you do understand what's going on, but not come across as though you're holding back or you don't understand, but ask questions when you don't understand, and when you do have something to say, have the confidence to get involved in the conversations and be part of the discussion and part of the solutions.
Yeah, that's really great. Especially that even rings true in college. For a lot of our listeners, they're still in high school or the early stages of college. Make sure to reach out to people if you're struggling, and make sure you ask plenty of questions, because people will not get annoyed if you ask too many questions. Most of the time, they'll be happy to help you. So, thank you all for that really great advice. That is going to be super helpful to everyone. So, we actually have one last question. We are going through this really quickly, which is really exciting. Usually takes us like 3 times longer to do this by ourselves. So, our last question today is, so think back, however long it was ago, not long, but to when you were still in high school about to start college. What is some advice that you would tell yourself? And then Suzanne, I'm sorry if you want to go
No,
first
that's all.
again.
I think the first thing that I would tell myself is you can be anything that you want to be. Just believe it and work really hard. Be authentic. Choose a space that you're passionate about and become a master in that space and own it. Authenticity of leadership is always going to be really critical. But then I would also tell myself that your team is your biggest asset. So always have a mindset of we win. Sometimes women get into a place where they think they have to fight so hard for what they want and what they deserve. Like Mary said, you'll get to a place in your career where you just realize one day you don't have to fight anymore. You are the leader that you are, but make sure you always take care of your team. Your team is your biggest asset. And I've always said we win. Even when, I get accolades, I always share them with my team. I will always, congratulate my team before I'll ever consider, something myself in terms of an achievement, because no matter how good you are only as good as your team is, and the people that are around you. And team can be a virtual team. It doesn't have to be just people that you report to, but take care of the people that are working for your objectives. And oftentimes everything will work out. So care about your people and believe in yourself and work for it. Because it should never come easy for anybody. Everybody has to work for the achievements that they get. So believe, work hard, respect others, and all will turn out good.
Yes, hard work always pays off. What about you, Kathleen? What would you tell your younger self?
So I often get this question from my interns when I talk to them. I always wonder what do I want to go back in time and tell myself? I think the most important thing is you have to love what you do. And as Suzanne said, you have to be passionate about it. And if you love it and you're passionate about it, it will show in your work, and it's infectious, because when I come into a room and I'm talking about a subject and I'm enthusiastic about the subject and passionate about the subject, my whole team all gets around it, and they can feel that it's something that I enjoy and that I'm passionate about, and it stirs on the conversation. It really it helps drive the conversation. And you're picking a career, so pick one that you really like doing, because you're probably going to do it. Although in all of our jobs we get to do a lot of different things, it's all very similar, right? It's very different facets of the same problem. So pick a job that you really enjoy, because you probably be doing it for much of your career. So if you have some talent at something and you really love it, you're really passionate about it, you're going to want to work hard at it. And then that hard work is going to pay off in the long run, and you will achieve success. So the perfect equation, really: love it, be good at it, work hard at it, and you will definitely be successful. The other thing I would tell myself if I could go back in time is all those great ideas that you have that you're afraid to speak out loud about, or you might think somebody's going to tell you it's not a great idea, or they're going to diminish your idea, or tell you it's a bad idea. Don't be afraid. In my early career, I was so afraid to speak out loud and really express myself and my ideas. And now it's no big deal. Now I just walk into a room, I think we should do this. And so many things, if I look back in time, wow, if I really had pushed that idea, maybe it would have been a great innovation at the time. So don't be afraid to try things. Don't be afraid to experiment. If you have an innovative idea, share it. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? Maybe somebody doesn't like it, but the worst thing is you have a great idea, you're afraid to share it, and it turns out to be a great idea. And then you can't go back in time and do that. So try many things. Find what you love. Don't be afraid to break the boundaries. Don't be afraid to share your thoughts and your ideas. And that perfect equation: talent plus passion plus hard work equals pretty much success.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's the perfect way to sum everything up. Avni, what about you? What would you tell your younger self?
I will start where Kathleen just touched on. Don't get intimidated by the words, or don't let anyone tell you that you cannot do or cannot go into this particular major or in this area. Or if you're interested in something, don't let others. Sure enough, you're still at that 16, 18, between, right about to start college. You're still figuring out what you wanted to do. And don't being a girl be a drawback, or let it be any part of your decision, or let anybody else also kind of point you in that specific direction, saying, oh, you cannot do this because you're a girl, or don't let that get into your decision making process. And definitely hard work. Look at what your interest and um, work harder in achieving and trying to get to it. And definitely another thing I want to bring up that I didn't know back then was health. Get your time, spend some time, spend continue with your hobbies, be it running, tennis, sports, whatever you want to, which makes you feel good. um, Spend that 40 minutes, 1 hour, at least 3 to 4 days a week, and keep up with any, it can be music, anything you want to do, just keep up with that as well. And that's something that I've never really thought of at that age back then. And something that I always thought I should have, I wish I knew this back then. um, Kind of.
Yeah,
So
definitely. That was really good. Definitely make sure to, like, for our listeners, keep up with your hobbies. School is stressful, you're studying, as much as you would be a full-time job, but always make sure to take time for yourself, because if you're not feeling great, you're not going to study well, and it's going to be a recipe for disaster. So Avni's right. Make sure you carve out that time for yourself and make sure that you're, doing things you love. It's going to make you happier and more focused when you do go down to study. So, Mary, do you want to go ahead and finish us off here?
Sure. I guess one of the things I'd like to say is that, if talking about 16 to 18 year old self or others, you might not know what you want to do, and that's okay. Don't be afraid to try different things, new things. I know when I started college, I think I changed my major 3 times before I settled on mechanical engineering. And then by the time I finished, I decided I wanted to be a computer scientist. So um, there's always opportunities to try something new. It's never too late to change your direction a little bit. But it's important to find, like the others have said, a direction that you're passionate about. You say that your life isn't all your job, but a lot of your life is your job. And if you're not happy there, you're probably not going to be happy in general. So find something that excites you, and interests you and challenges you at work, and then do the other things too. But uh, certainly you want to try to find something that is of interest to you, that you're going to spend 8 or more hours a day with others working on, um, to make sure that you're overall satisfied with what you're doing. And it's never too late to change directions.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Some of us were lucky enough to figure out our majors early on, but it's totally fine to not know what you're doing, or even just to go down an alternate route. Trade schools are a good option. You can go straight to working if you're not sure what you want to do. Just like they said, make sure you're always happy. So that is all the questions I had. Do you guys have anything for the two of us?
no, I'm really glad that you're actually taking the time and putting the effort of putting this together, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining us. When we first started this, our goal was outreach officers is really just to kind of, usually in a normal year, go visit the local high schools around the Cincinnati area. And obviously, we can't do that now because of COVID, but this was a really great opportunity that we kind of brainstormed and came up with. And, to see the response and see that people actually are willing to help us and willing to listen has been really great. And we're really thankful that we can still make an impact while being virtual, because,
One of the things that I had written in my notes was, you know, as as the growing population of women in engineering and STEM fields, it's great to see it growing significantly. But then it provides a responsibility for those of us that are more senior to lift people up. And I think that as people grow, they should look for people that can help lift them up. And then as they reach those milestones, always lift people below you up, in their jobs in the industry. I had a great senior leader, and I remember she got promoted to vice president, and she was the first vice president of IT, female vice president of IT for this company. And she looked across the table and said, when there is one, there will be many more. And that was her, her way of, it was really iconic for her to be able to pave the way for future leaders. And I think that we all, no matter what your level is in the organization, I think we all have that responsibility to help each other.
Thank you so much to our panelists for speaking with us today. We really appreciate you coming out and giving some great advice to our listeners. We hope you got some great stuff out of this podcast. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to send us an email, send us a direct message on our Instagram page, or comment on the YouTube video. Thanks, guys. Have a great rest of your month.